to this computer. Okay, now it is recorded, and later I will upload it, the recording to Dilo. Okay, and do we need to do this in English or in Dutch? Both presentation and individual assignment can be in Dutch. I can understand that, no problem. But just for me, in order to more effectively communicate, I choose English. If you present in Dutch or you write in Dutch, no problem, I can understand it. I have been in SPO program for more than 12 years. So all the assignments and the presentations are in Dutch. So there is no problem for that. Feel free to use Dutch. Chris asked, we want to assign the groups now, since we are all here now, might be most convenient, minor. Okay, so what about the other students? Do you think it's nice to sign up for the group? Okay, because all of us are here. Chris also has his point. It's easy if we immediately decide who will be in which group. Let's say first we have 3 groups. Group 1, who would like to join? Group 1. The future presentation sequence will not be group 1, 2, 3. Yeah? It will be randomized. I will randomly choose the group. So group 1, you don't need to worry. In the future, your presentation will be the first one. Okay. So group 1, Marguerite. Who will be in group 1 with Marguerite? Hisk. Okay. Chris, sorry, and Danny. So you are the first 4 register for the group 1. And I type it there in the chat box. Agnes, you will be in group 2, okay? Group 2 will be in group 2 with Agnes. Fiora. Okay, Lindy. Nice. So we already have 3. Okay, and Cesar, right? Cesar. Okay, it's good. Now, group 2, we have already 4 students, and Yopper, you are a little bit late. Group 3, Yopper will be the first one. And who else in this group, in this class? I think the rest will be in group 3, right? And I saw Farah, okay, Chada. Who else? Let me see. Urine. Okay, so you 4 will be in group 3. Is it okay? And I still have Cedar. Who else? Lisana. Hisk already. Hisk is in group 1 already. Fiora is there. So I have only 2, Lisana and Cedar. You 2 are not assigned yet. You 2, right? So Cedar, you will be in group 1. Is okay? And Lisana in group 2. Okay. So now I will repeat the list. Group 1 with Seeger. Yes. Group 2 with Lisana. And the group 3 remains the current 4. Let me see, we have, so I'm not sure whether there will be more students to join or not. Later, I will check the complete class list. So in case there is any difference, I will email you, okay? So temporarily, let's decide this is the group list. Everyone is clear? Everyone finds a group? Yeah, I hope it's okay. Now, and, I suggest later you, within the group, can exchange contact information, and you can form your own, perhaps WhatsApp group for the offline, or have some offline communication. So after class contact, and then you can work on your group presentation. Week 7 will be the presentation day. And for the group presentation, there is no need to write a report. So it's only presentation. Yeah, so it's a relatively relaxing task. Okay. Now, any other questions about the course structure and assessment? If no question, then I will go on to the next. Yeah. Okay. Then I will go on. Let me see, where is my mouse? Here. Yes. So we first start with the definition of evidence-based intervention. Yeah. Why it is very necessary to have this course. In SPO, I have been teaching various courses already. First is the education research methodology. I saw in your roster you still have this subject. I have been teaching this subject for 7 years, and later I teach qualitative research, and later school effectiveness and management, and then they add this new course of the SPO program, which is called evidence-based intervention in onderwijs. And then I asked them why, because this course is not the traditional course. And the reason is there is a tendency in education practice that decision makers rely more and more on evidence-based innovation instead of like 2 decades ago, 20 years ago, when we had some innovative ideas, we immediately use it. The decision makers in education fields gradually realize some of the innovations may not apply, may not suitable for everyone in the education fields. We really need evidence-based decision-making decisions. That is why the SPO program added this course, which is very practical. And I'm not sure whether all of you are working as a teacher or as trainers now. So I want to do a very quick, let's say, a very quick survey among you, okay? Are you a teacher or trainer now? This is my question. So I would like to quickly ask whether you are a teacher or a trainer. Okay, Chris said yes. Yes. Okay. Now, good. Okay, quite a few said yes, teacher, and then he said no. Okay. Yes. So in the chat box, you can find quite a few of you are actually the teachers, right? Good. And some of you are not the teacher. Some that I teach some workshops. Okay, good. Yes. And for the teachers, I have a follow-up question. Have you ever tried some innovative didactic methods in teaching? This is my question. When you are teaching workshops or certain subjects, or you are giving the training, have you ever tried some innovative things? Wow, what a nice response. Very positive. If you look at the chat box, all of you said yes. You're really up to date. You really want to try something new. This is great motivation. It's great. Okay. And this is also the motivation why you follow this course. Let's look at that. And in 2006, the Onderwijsraad of the Dutch government published this handbook. It is called Naar meer evidence-based onderwijs. It's an advice handbook. Yeah? They provide advices how we can approach to more evidence-based education practice, and to be bewezen werkzaam, so which is called in English to be proven effective. Yeah, so we need to show that this innovative method is effective, and then we apply it. Okay, so this book is a PDF file. Later, I will also upload it to Dilo. You can read it after school, after the class. You see, this is the table of content of this book, and our courses are also organized based on the content of some chapters. So it's very recommended for you to read this book. Even someone like me, which is not my mother language, but I read through this book, I find it's very easy to understand. It's written in very simple language, easy to follow. So, and I also enjoy reading this one, really interesting. And this second chapter, we talk about hard and zacht bewijs, is also what we are going to talk in week 1, this one. Yeah? And later, we will also learn some experience from the Dutch education in the later courses. Okay? And in education, like what you have mentioned in the chat box, you as the education practitioners, as the teachers, you like to try something innovative, the same as me. I'm a professional teacher of research methodology in Hanze Hogeschool, and I'm also teaching statistics, which a lot of students hate it. Yeah, statistique, a lot of number crunching subject. So after several years teaching, always repeating the same content, just to different groups, I also feel bored. And I'm also reflecting how I can improve my teaching effectiveness, and how I can make my students learn easily and retain the knowledge better. So I also tried a lot of innovative methods. But then sometimes I realize, well, this sounds nice. This is published in some journal articles, and I use exactly what they have done in American. And now I apply it in my classroom in the Netherlands. However, it didn't work. Yeah, some methods looks like fancy, but if I apply it in practices, I got a lot of frustrations. It's not as good as I expected. So this is why I sometimes cannot suggest to the management team to suggest other colleagues to use the same method, because I realize that the same innovation may work for some cases, but cannot be work for other cases. And here I would like to stop a while. I would like to ask you two terms, whether you do understand what these two terms mean. Can you distinguish two terms? One is called transferability. The other one is called generalizability. Yeah, I put it into the chat box. In research, we have two terms, transferability and the generalizability. Can you distinguish these two? I think in Dutch, very similar terms as this, transferability and generalizability. Do you understand the difference between these two? Because frequently you will see these terms in education research paper, in some research publications. No? I see the chat box is very quiet now. So it must be challenging for you. What is the difference between transferability and the generalizability. Okay. Actually, in research, we said transferability is like what I have learned from the theories. I know this is the theory, and I transfer it into practice. And I find, hey, in practice, it works. So this theory can be transferred into practice to solve practical problems. And the generalizability is, I do find some solutions to that. And it can not only be used to solve the problems of my organization, problems of my class, of my subjects, but it can also be used to solve the problems in other institutes, in other subjects, for other students. This is called generalizability. So the scope is much bigger. Yeah. So when we try something innovative, we are also interested, okay, this is very useful for my students. Can this one also be generalized to other classes? If yes, and then of course the management team wants to invest on it and ask other teachers, ask your colleagues to do exactly as what you have done. So your findings, your practice, your innovation can be generalized to the others. Yeah? So this is what we are looking for. So using evidence-based research to get the innovation be generalized to a larger scope of education practice. Okay, now let's go on. Actually, after talking about evidence-based, we talk about the next part of this term, that is intervention, interventie. Yeah? In English, we can also call it treatment. The first time we introduce interventie to education practice, actually we borrow it from the medical science. Yeah. You know that now it is the COVID pandemic, and I read the news that in America and also in this month in the European Union, there will be some kind of medicine developed by Pfizer, which can cure the COVID, and you can buy it from the market very soon in the European Union. And America, it's already in the apotheke. And in Britain, they are going to put it into the apotheke this month. So we know there's one medicine before it goes to the market, before the medicine goes to the market. What scientists are doing, they need to do a lot of experiments. Yeah, and they use a lot of experiments to show that this medicine is effective. Suppose this is the medicine, and this is no medicine. So using the medicine is more effective than not using the medicine. And it also has little side effects. So will not report severe side effects. And we can even ignore the side effects. Then it can be sold in the market. Customers can, the patients can buy it. Same as the COVID medicine. Before it goes to the market, it needs a lot of experiments. Same as the vaccination. Yeah, we get the vaccination by Pfizer, Moderna. We all know that all this vaccination, before it can be injected to us, it has been experimented. And all this data support that this one is effective, and it comes to the market. This is the medical science, how it works. Later, the education practitioners think, okay, we can adopt this method. So before we use some innovations in practice, we'd better see whether there is any kind of evidence to show that this method is effective. So let's just imagine that previously this is medicine, but now this is innovative education method. And we can demonstrate that this method is better than no method, and there is no or very little side effect, will not hurt the teachers, will not hurt the students, will not overload our teaching staff. And if yes, then we apply it into our class, in our schools, in our workshops, etc. Yeah? So the way we do evidence-based intervention is exactly like the scientists work on the new medicine, work on the new vaccination. So that is the rationale behind this evidence-based intervention. Yeah, so now I hope you understand what is the reason we have this evidence-based intervention. Okay, and this is a very interesting figure. It's from very famous cartoon, Fokker and Zoeker. I think you may know it. Yeah. Look, allemaal naar www.autospelen.nl. And the teacher refers to a tablet, and all the kids work with the tablet. Autospelen.nl. Nou jongens, het is pauze, and then let's go to autospelen.nl. So what is the what does this joke refer to? Look, sometimes we use innovation in the class just because we think it is innovative. So we don't care about effectiveness. We just force the students to follow this interesting gadget. And then we think, hey, it's pretty good. It's a very positive application. But actually, it's not. Like using the tablet, ask children to go for autospelen. Yeah, so that's very bad example. I remember that's around a decade ago when tablet was introduced into the basisschool, into the classrooms. We were very excited about it. I was still a PhD student working on the ICT education. And I can see in the conference, a lot of people presented how positive the effect is. And they always use evidence such as questionnaire. And in the presentation, they said, hey, in our classroom, or in our school, we invest how much money on the tablets. So every kid receive a tablet from us. And we installed a lot of education program and games into it. And after one semester, we asked the kids whether they like it. Wow, the most of the kids said they really like this. They enjoy working on it. Okay, but now after so many years using these gadgets, we gradually come down. We reflect whether the kids have positive comments on the tablet. It's because of the knowledge learning, or it's because of they just find it's interesting to work with the tablet. Because the original idea to apply tablet in the classroom is we want to improve students' learning. So this is the criterion for that. If this one is not met, in other words, later if we notice actually the kids just play a lot with the tablet, however, there is no significant difference between those using the tablets and those who are not using the tablets regarding the learning gains. And why should we invest so much on the tablets? And we also know that interest in some new gadgets will gradually disappear. So at the beginning, they're very excited to work with that. But later, their interest will gradually weg because they get more and more used to this gadget. So all this curiosity disappeared, and then it's no longer effective. Okay, and I would like to share an interesting article with you, published in Volkskrant in April 2019. And the topic is very interesting. They said, leuk hè, al die profielen in het onderwijs, other students learn enough from that. And they call this a lot of innovative school concepts like hipper school concepts. They call this a hipper school concept, such as culture profile schools, multilingual schools with a lot of new concepts. Actually, in practice, they're not sufficiently evaluated. So we promote a lot of innovations in education practice. But do we really have assessed the learning gains, the effectiveness of the investment on it? Well, according to the previous research, it's far insufficient. So in comparison with the amount of innovation in practice, measurement of the effectiveness is far behind. Yeah, it's not enough. Okay. Yeah. And in this case, we do need scientific research. So what is the role of scientific research here? The role of scientific research. There are three advantages for Dalen. Yeah. First is Petrova, which is we call the reliable parts of the effect. Only after scientific research address the effect, I can say that actually this one is effective. Without scientific research support, I cannot say that my findings that this is effective method is reliable. Yeah, my conclusion may not be reliable. Need Petrova. Okay, and also education research. Knowledge should be accumulated. Yeah, knowledge is not built like this. It's like a spiral. Yeah, they continues. So there are a lot of let's say verbinding, yeah, the connection between previous knowledge and the new one. And the scientific research can help us to do that. I always suggest the management team of our school. So every time when you wanted to have a new curriculum, please do not tip your head and spontaneous have some new idea about it. You first need to do a literature review to review what has already been used and what has already been studied and what is the effect of that. And then draw your own new curriculum. Yeah, because otherwise it looks like you repeat the previous mistakes. So review what scientific research will guide you to do the systematic review of the previous findings and to prevent you do a lot of unnecessary work, yeah, to save your time, yeah, to connect your old knowledge with the new one. And this is connected to the third one, to avoid overboard redundant development work, yeah, to save a lot of your extra work. Okay, so that is the three advantages of scientific research. Make your conclusion more Petrova, reliable, and build new knowledge based on the old knowledge, and make your work more effective to save a lot of extra work, to avoid a lot of redundant work. Okay, yeah, and what kind of intervention previous research have already done? Actually, this is really something I would like to share with you. I really like this website. I don't know whether you have ever heard of it. This one, wait a minute. I share this one with you. It's called this. Nederlandse Jeugd Institute. Have you ever heard of that? Nederlandse Jeugd Institute. Yeah, there we go. Many said yes. Oh, some said yes, of course. And some said no, never. Okay, it's quite different, yeah? Okay, and I will type the web address here. Okay, and Agnes said yes, but nooit bekeken. Okay, now in this course, it is the time for you to visit it. Okay, look, this is a very good database. It records all kinds of potential interventions you can apply in education practice. And if you go to this website, you go to the top right corner, there is a menu here, yeah, and you go to Canvas, and you can see effective jeugdinterventie here, see, effective jeugdinterventie, okay? And here you have a database, yeah? You can search for an intervention. Yeah? They have a large database, and they also organize it according to, for example, the leeftijd for like the kids, the young kids, or for the jeugd juniors, or for the senior high school students, etc. So you can select the leeftijd van wat tot wat. Okay. You can also see organized according to the topics. Like for ADHD kids, what kind of intervention we can use. Suppose we choose this one. There are 9 options, yeah, for different leeftijd. These are interventions. See, taakspel, self-plannen, okay, behavioral parent training, Groningen, okay, so druk in the class, a lot of very nice interventions presented here, okay, and you can also choose like this. Status erkenning, yeah, see, erkend. So these have already been tested in practice. And some are very new, and some hasn't been tested yet. Well, some has already been removed because of budget reason or because of ethical reason. You never know. So usually I like to go to in voorbereiding or niet erkend. And of course, I first need to go through the erkend, those acknowledged one, to see what has already been studied. Because your individual assignment asks you to select one intervention which hasn't been tested before and try to write a research proposal on it. And then this is a very good database for you. You can connect that to your current education practice. I see the most of you are teachers, trainers, and then you can reflect, you can think about, in my class, in my workshops, for my students, which intervention I may adopt. And if you are not education practitioners, and you may also think, okay, what is my dream task or dream job regarding education or training? And then I would like to apply this one, yeah? So you can link it to your own practice, okay? And you can also look into the erkennis niveau of that and to look at the objective, yeah, to prevent some of the problems, to remove problems, to minimize some of the problems, etc. And they also have specific target group, specific, let's say, target students, yeah? Like for those who have a migration background, or the families have very complex problems, or only for meisjes, for girls, yeah, or for kids in the special education, yeah. And you can also see where this kind of intervention can be implemented, like a house, in the institute, in the school, etc. Okay, so these are very interesting one. So I suggest you to look into it. And besides these intervention options, I also go to the instrument part. Because when you design a research proposal, you also need to think about use what kind of instrument I need to collect the data. Yeah, data verzamelen. Use a questionnaire survey, a vragenlist, or use interview. And here they provide a huge database about the instrument. So sometimes you don't need to design an instrument, a questionnaire by yourself. you can feel free to adopt one from them. For example, this one, psychosocial vaardigheden is the skills. The skills. They have already developed vragenlijst, and that is for the kids, so for the juniors, aging from 9 to 18. If you wanted to test their psychosocial skills, you can use this vragenlijst. Okay, yeah. So you can say, I will adopt this one as instrument to collect the data. Okay, so there are a lot. So this website has a lot of interesting information. Okay, they also mention some jeugdproblems and some ciphers for that. Yeah, you can see the ciphers per on the some topics, but thema, and different results of that. You can see here a lot. You can use this as a secondary data to support, to justify your research proposal. Okay, so this is a very interesting topic. And you can visit this website after the course. Okay, now let's go back to the slides. Okay. Yeah. After visiting this website, okay, I think you can see my in chat box. Is er ook een database voor het onderwijs? Yes, this is the database. You mean for what onderwijs? These are all for this education database, Agnes. Intervention applied in education.
Is there also a database for education? Because this is about youth.
You mean for higher education?
No. Voor de basisschool.
Yeah, I think these are also for the basisschool. Like just now, the example I showed is 9 to 18, but you can also find some for the basisschool kids. Yeah.
Yeah, but what I mean is because there are many interventions at schools. Is there is er een database voor interventies die gedaan zijn in het onderwijs, dus over educatie?
What I have seen in this database, they also investigate the cognitive development. I think this is very related to the learning in the basisschool and also in the middelbare school.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, okay, but you need to search for that. Yeah, you need to search for it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, because you see that this website not only looking to the social skills of the kids, but also the cognitive development of the kids, both basisschool and middelbare school. Yeah. Okay. Now let's move on. Okay. Yeah. Look, this is one of the example I showed it. I also mentioned it. For some, they have also the prevention and the handling, so how it has been applied for that. So this database includes a lot of very rich information. I suggest you after this class, tomorrow or later, you can visit this website, and concentrate on finding some useful information for your own individual assignment. Okay, and there are 5 steps for evidence-based practice, and this is published in the article by the Sackett and the other authors in the journal. The article name is Evidence-Based Medicine: What it is and it isn't. And these authors, they interview a lot of the doctors in the hospitals and also the patients, and they finally find the 5 effective steps for evidence-based practice. The later, these 5 steps is the classical, let's say, the classical model for evidence-based practice is also introduced in education practice. Okay, so you should know that this one originated from hospital, originated from the medical analysis, medical research. So step one is usually we ask a question. This ask a question is not ask a patient a question or ask a doctor a question, but ask a question which patients have a problem, and we convert it into a workable question, so which we can guide us to find information. We can understand it like this could be my research question. And I use this one to search for relevant information. Yeah. So I first need to know what is the need of my patients. For example, the patients say, I have a headache, I have unknown reason, I always have the headache, or I cannot sleep very well. So they have this kind of problem. And then I convert it into an answerable question. The same as in education practice in the class. I notice, well, some of the kids cannot concentrate in the class. And I wanted to know what is the problem influence their concentration. And then I convert it into answerable question, such as what the factors may be related to the kids' concentration in the class. And then I need to define, what do I mean, the kids? The kids means basisschoolkinderen, yeah, age group like 5 tot 7. Ja, so groep 2 tot groep 4, zoiets. And then I wanted to find out what could be the factors related to that. And after that, I go to the second step. Find the best evidence. And where should I find the best evidence? I already have my question, and I go to the literature. It could be Google Scholar. Yeah, I type the keywords, the terms there, and there will be a lot of articles published in the journals. I think most students, this is the easiest way for you to do that. And some students of the previous cohorts also mentioned they, besides Google Scholar, also like to go to another website called Connected Paper. Have you ever heard of it? Connected Paper equals to Google Scholar. And I type the keywords into it, such as kids concentration. And suddenly a lot of other articles come out. Some are the research done in America, some are the research done in Germany. And they all talk about what kind of factors may influence kids' concentration, the students' kids' concentration in the class. And then I collect all this evidence. And I've tried to find the most relevant to my classroom, to my target group. That's the basisschoolleerlingen. Okay, and I track down the best evidence. Okay, and then the third step, after collecting all this evidence, I need to evaluate it. I need to use kind of a criterion to look into it, such as methodological criteria, look into the validity of the previous research. Please keep it in mind. You need to be a critical researcher. Do not take it for granted that everything published in the article is correct. So always challenge the publications, especially the methodology of the researchers. For example, you can find, hey, in the American research, they do a questionnaire survey. Well, the response rate is not very high, or the reliability of the questionnaire survey is a problem. So try to reflect on it. And it could be that it's not very valid. Yeah. And then you think about how it may be connected to your own practice. Okay. So the same as the doctor asks the patient, and the doctor go to the database, try to find potential treatment, and then they evaluate it. Okay, wait a minute. for example, I had an experience. Once I got an accident, I was sent to the doctor, and the doctor diagnosed what exactly the problem with me. And then the doctor went to the internet to search for the treatment. When I was pregnant, I fell down and I broke my teeth. And I was sent to the emergency room. And the doctor first asked about my own situation, which month I was in pregnancy, and how serious it happened. And then he searched in the internet, find, okay, whether I can use this and that medicine. And then after that, he needs to make the decision, use certain criteria, because patients are all different, the same as students are all different. I cannot use the one which is suitable for American students, also in the Dutch classroom for the Dutch kids. It may not be applicable. So I need to evaluate it, okay? Very thoughtful evaluation. And then I try to apply the information in combination of experience and the patient's values. And in our case is educational experience and the student values and student characteristics, okay? So this step should also combine the new information, what you have diagnosed from your classroom and your students' characteristics with the knowledge you get from the previous research. Try to integrate that and then develop a unique, a unique method for that. And after you apply it, try to follow it and evaluate the outcomes, because that could be indication for the future steps. Yeah, we said after you applied innovation, it's not stop. You need to continue measure how it how the result is. What is the outcomes? Whether it's effective or not. What could be the pitfalls for that? Okay? And this is a closed loop. You see, from asking a question, so try to collect the information, know the need of innovation. Yeah, let's say, we'll write it like this. So the first step is try to know the needs of innovation, okay? And try to review the previous research findings. And then try to evaluate the previous findings and critically reflect on it, on them, such as methodology part. Okay. Oh. Here, critically reflect on it, and then integrate the previous findings with the current context, into the current context. Okay, and later evaluate the outcome and plan for the future research. So in your proposal, you can also follow these 5 steps, okay? Of course, we only ask you to write a research proposal, so there is no need for you to collect the real data. So you can stop at the methodology, just map after this how it can go on, yeah? Later, you may also convert this one into your future thesis, future dissertation for that, okay? So this is the 5 steps of evidence-based practice, how it works. Okay? I suggest that we have 15 minutes break, okay? 15 minutes break, and we will come back at 8:15, okay? 8:15, we will be back. Yeah? Okay, welcome back. Now let's continue with our next lesson. Next part of the lesson. Okay. Let me first check it. This one. I have a problem with this post. I think I need to reshare the window. Okay. Wait a minute, I have a problem with the slides. Now it comes. Okay, now I first we are going to talk about what is evidence. We talk a lot about why evidence-based intervention is very necessary for education practice. And now we need to define what do we refer as an evidence, device, in this case, device. Yeah. Okay. And we distinguish two types of evidence, zacht and hard. So zacht depends on the context of discovery, while hard depends on the context of justification. So what do I mean exactly? For the zacht evidence, it looks like exploratory research. Yeah, exploratory research. We'll write it here. Exploratory research. Like, I have no idea what happens in the classroom. So I first need to find out what could be the problems there. Let's say, suppose I notice I'm teaching statistics and I find, hey, in the past 3 years, the statistics has a very low passing rate. A very few students after 7-week learning passed the exam. Quite a few students failed. So I have no idea what could be the problems of that. And then I explore in the darkness, like at night, explore it. So in this case, I use a lot of zacht device, zacht evidence. And suppose I already specify that this could be the reason for that, such as our exams are not very valid, or our instructional method is not good, or our students' entry level decrease. And then I list, this could be the potential problems which result in the low passing rate of the students. And then I go on to do some experimental research to pair the students or to separate them into different groups and try to compare their learning outcomes after intervention. And we call this is hard evidence. So I try to justify among these factors, among these reasons, which one is significantly related to the low passing rate, to the poor learning gains of statistics of students. Yeah, so the first one is I explore in the darkness. I have no idea what could be the problems. And then I interview the people, ask a survey, and then I list factors. And the hard evidence is I try to justify which one has a significance relation with the final outcome. That is the justification, hard evidence. Okay, and if I look into the research methodology, and the zachte bias said it could be like a pilot test, for example, the pilot test. Pilot test is the zacht evidence. Yeah, because usually you do the pilot test, you only select a small group of the students. And survey, questionnaire survey is also collecting the zacht evidence. Some students may ask, well, I think the survey, you have a larger sample size. Why it is still zacht? The reason is that the survey usually only look into the opinions of the human beings. But our opinions are not always reliable or valid. So it's not the hard evidence to show it is effective or not. It's more or less like the afterwards feeling, the perception of that. The same as I said, the survey among the pupils regarding the use of tablets, and it's very positive. However, it's still the Sachbeweis. It's not the hard evidence, yeah? And the correlational analysis, well, also based on the survey, I may find, hey, this is related to people's feeling, the perception, etc. And also case study, to select some students as a case to learn it. And the design research, yeah. So I find the problem, I try to solve this problem, but still the method is not the hard evidence method. Also the ervaringskennis, some experience or knowledge of professionals. I interviewed them. So all these traditional research methods actually are very frequently used in education research. However, they are all soft evidence, are not the hard evidence. Okay, and if I have all this, does this mean that it's not convincing? And does this mean that if research uses this method, I cannot trust it? Well, it's different, yeah? No, actually, you still can use it, but you need to use it as a review study or use the meta-analysis for or best evidence synthesize to combine them and use these methods to try to find the best evidence. Okay, here I would like to stop and to ask you in the chat box. Have you ever learned what a meta-analysis is? Have you ever learned how to use meta-analysis? Ever learned in the class what meta-analysis refers to? Yeah, in the chat box, I would like to ask you. Okay. Oh, no. Okay. Good. Yes. Okay. 2 students said no, never learned meta-analysis. Okay, because it's yeah, okay, Agnes, good. Meerdere onderzoeken met elkaar vergelijken, to compare more education research, more research, very good. So Agnes know meta-analysis, yes? But some other students, you said no, straightforwardly. Yeah, it's good for me to understand what you have learned, yeah? The same as what Agnes said, meta-analysis, we collect a lot of research publications, what the previous researchers have done. As I mentioned, some research have been conducted in America, while some research in Japan, in Singapore, or in Germany, in British, Australian. And I collect all of that. And then I put it together. I try to compare it. But how to compare it? It's very difficult because some research, they use this method in higher education. Some use it in a basisschool, some use it in the middelbare school. Well, some has a large sample size, yeah, more than 1,000. Well, some has a relatively small sample size, only 80 or 120. And some use it for the mathematics, some use it for language learning. So I need to put them together and I calculate their effect size. Okay, so based on meta-analysis, to collect all relevant research, I calculate the effect size. And I will explain what effect size refers to. And before that, I introduce one researcher, name is John Hattie. John Hattie has conducted a magnificent meta-analysis of education research. And he published a book called Visible Learning for Teachers. This is kind of we can take it as a Bible or as a handbook for education practitioners, because it's very comprehensive. You see, this is a list. Later, you download my slides. You can enlarge it. It's a very long list. And in this list, John Hattie used the effect size to look into the previous education research and to calculate which one is effective, which one is not effective. And before I go to his list in details, I first refresh your knowledge about effect size. I know that some of you have already followed the statistic course, yeah? And in the statistic course, have you learned what effect size is? Effect size. Yeah, my question is posted on the chat box. Have you ever learned this one? Oh, you do not have it. Statistic 1, okay, and 2, and some said yes, already learned it. Okay, then enough, still not yet. Effect size. All of you know what effect size is, or some of you know what effect size is? Okay, good. Well, okay, some do not. You see that in different research, we have different sample size and different instruments. And later we calculate the F value using ANOVA, or maybe use the independent sample t-test. We get the t value. We also have the p value to see whether it is significant or not significant. And then later I convert all this number into effect size. And we call this, usually we use Cohen's D. So it is represented using Cohen's D. And there is a table to distinguish these values. So when Cohen's D is a smaller, let's say, than 0.2, if this coefficient is smaller than 0.2, we say this one has a very small effect, and you cannot observe it using your naked eyes. So cannot be observable, the effect, yeah? But if it's above 0. Sorry, the line should be here. If it's above 0.20, it's around the middle-sized effect, so like this, middle-sized. And then we will say, hey, this one can be observed using naked eyes. Yeah? And of course, it's larger than 0.8. It's very strong, very big effect size. And that means it's very effective to use in practice. Okay? And then after reviewing, after refreshing our knowledge of effect size, let's look at what John Hattie has done. His research, actually his team has done 1,400 meta-analysis by collecting 80,000 education studies in the past from all kinds of publications, the journal publications. And all these studies is about the students. So some studies about 400 students, some studies about 1,000 students. So in total, it involves 300 million students. Yeah? So it's a huge meta-analysis research. And some are using questionnaire survey, and some are using correlation research. Some are using the case study, etc. And later, John Hattie summarized a big, long table as what we have seen. Yeah? And now I use the simple version of this list, simple version. Okay, and you see, in this simple version, these are all the interventions which are related to students' learning effectiveness. And for the basisschool and middelbare leerlingen. Okay, and the top 3, which are very useful, very strong effect size. You can see here it's all above 1. See. All above 1. Yeah, this is top 3. first one is a collective teacher efficacy, or the teacher's efforts. They work together, they collaborate. And then the second one is student expectation. In the past education research, they show the higher student expectation is, and the more effective they learn. So the students expect they can achieve a higher goal, and then they usually can learn much better than those who have a lower expectation. Also, the response to intervention, all kinds of interventions are very strong. Yeah, so if you have certain interventions in practices, yeah, the response to it, and then you usually see the effect. The student efficacy is also a strong factor. Well, what's interesting is the bottom three. The summer vacation, because we know a lot of teachers complain that after the summer vacation, na de vakantie, yeah, when the students terug naar de school, and they forget what they have learned. So it looks like they have to restart a lot of basic concepts. So in practice, a lot of teachers complain about a long summer vacation. However, according to John Hattie's meta-analysis, this one has very little effect size, even can be ignored. Yeah, it's a 0.02, very small effect size. And also some parents complain their kids watch too much televisions. And we did find there is a negative effect size. Yeah, so it's not good. However, it's still very small. It's smaller than 0.2. So this is again a very small effect size watching television. Yeah, so it's so some was argue that the parents' complaints about watching television it actually will not significantly influence the learning of the kids. Yeah, the mobility is a little bit stronger, like this mobility. Yeah, so these are the bottom three effects. Yeah, effect size for visible learning research. And you see, using meta-analysis, I can compensate the drawbacks of a zachte bewijs. Yeah, see this triangle? Zachte bewijs is here using survey research, pilot test, case study. And after I collect a certain amount of similar research, I can use meta-analysis to analyze, to synthesize this research, convert the previous findings into effect size. Yeah, then I still can use it. I will say, and after that, this research is also meaningful as the hard evidence. Yeah, so don't feel frustrated. Don't feel that my survey research will be meaningless. It's still meaningful. But it needs to be synthesized with other research. We need a huge amount of data to support it. So after knowing the zachte bewijs, and let's go to the hard bewijs. Okay. I forgot. Before we go to the hard bewijs, I remember an interesting story to share with you. John Hattie actually also criticized on the Dutch education system. Very interesting, yeah. Yeah, actually, let me see. Okay, on the drawings. Yeah, 2015. He was interviewed by the Dutch newspaper, Trouw, and he criticized on the Dutch education system. The reason is he thought that the Dutch education system, let's say, excludes a lot of talented kids very early stage, because we have the CITO test, and we all know that CITO test is very important in the Netherlands. And the CITO test happens by the end of the basisschool, so groep 8. Yeah, and from group 5, 6, 7, you already get the CITO test. And the groep 8, the kids were decided. They go to the VWO, they go to the HAVO, etc. And then, according to John Hatie, this is very unique in the world. And at very early stage, some of the kids, he argued, by the end of the basisschool, their talent hasn't been developed or hasn't been fully developed yet. But we already put them into a different education system. They already lose some chances to challenge themselves. And he is very critical. He said the reason at this moment the system is still successful is because of our society who benefit from this system and those who are managing this society, who have the decision-making rights at this society at this moment. That is why we don't want to change this education system. According to him, it's very unique in the world. Yeah. So this is also something some viewpoints very interesting, because he has reviewed a lot of education research over all the world in the past. So it's very critical, but I think it's very interesting for us to know. It's the viewpoint from John Hatie. Okay, now let's look at hard evidence. Yeah, the soft evidence we already know, pilot test, correlation analysis, survey. So what could be the hard evidence? There are several characteristics of hard evidence. The first one is randomized, select, randomized. And the second characteristic is controlled field experiment. So it has been controlled. And next one is other research methods or practical knowledge of education professionals will also be integrated. So not only from this, let's say, the experiment, but also listen to let's listen to the professionals' opinions, yeah, to get insights into the experiment. So these are the three characteristics of hard evidence. Okay, now, so for hard evidence, the typical hard evidence to get is from randomized controlled trials. It can also be abbreviated as RCP. So later you will read the literature. So if you meet these terms, RCP, you know it refers to randomized controlled trials. Yeah. So you follow the education research methods course. That one has clearly defined. Yeah, thanks, Danny. I saw in the chat box. Yes. Yeah, in education research methods, they define what is the randomized controlled trials. I have two groups. This is group 1 and this is group 2. This is a new treatment group, or I can call it intervention group or experimental group. In this one, I use the control treatment. It's also called control group. And before assign the students into different groups, randomize it. So these are my population. So then I select the sample from the population. Randomize select means everyone in the population has the equal chance to be selected. This is randomized, okay? Then some students will go to the experimental group, some will go to the control group. And I give them a certain treatment, yeah, or certain traditional method. And it will take the same amount of time. Let's say here 7 weeks, and here also 7 weeks, it could be also 2 months, yeah. And after that, I compare their outcomes. I need to use the same assessment to compare it. For example, they all join the exams. They all join the same exam. And then I compare whether students in the experimental group will learn better than the students in the control group. So this is very ideal randomized controlled trials. However, as education practitioners, as a teacher for more than 20 years, yeah, I know in realities, it's not that easy to do. Yeah? For example, in our school, I prefer to organize a control group and experimental group. Like my statistic classes, I have 10 classes, 330 students in year 1. They all followed my statistic courses. And I really want to assign some students into the control group, some students into the experimental group. For the control group, I use the traditional method. For the experimental group, I use the innovative method. However, the management team cautioned me, you cannot do it. Otherwise, the students will sue us. They will say, hey, I receive unfair treatment. Why? I cannot get the innovative method, or why am I forced to follow the new method? I want to have the traditional method. So in reality, it's really sometimes difficult because there are a lot of bureaucratic rules. And also in reality, sometimes it's not perfect. Like I assign 50 students into control group, 50 into the intervention group, and it takes 7 weeks. And later I find, hey, control group, a lot of students drop out. And later, only 20 students left. While in the intervention group, well, still 45 students remained. Well, for those who drop out, 30, I have no idea. They never contact us anymore. Is it because of the treatment, or is it because other external reasons? So I cannot always have 50 from the beginning to the end, yeah, because the treatment may take some time. So in reality, it's also not perfect. So what could be the solution? The solution is we can have a quasi-experimental design. Yeah, so it's not pure, not perfectly randomized, but we control some factors. So it's not perfectly randomized. We can control something. Yeah, for example, now they start. Then I give them a pre-test. And in the pre-test, I measure it, whether their knowledge of statistics or their knowledge of mathematics almost the same. Yeah. If they are randomly selected, they should be almost the same. Yeah. Or say I have 10 classes, I'm not allowed to assign the students randomly into a control group. I can assign the class, like this 5 class will be in the experimental group. The rest of 5 classes, I let them into the control group. And I tell the students, just the method are different, but all the learning content are exactly the same. To convince them that they are treated equally. Fairly. Yeah, so this could also be the solution. One of my applications in 2014, I used quasi-experimental design. This research was conducted in 2012. At that moment, the smartphone was not widely used in education, in class. We used the click pads. Yeah, in Rug, we bought a lot of this kind of small gadgets. It's kind of a voting machine, okay? And so we use it in our statistic courses. And we have 3 groups. One is a control group. So students use the textbook or notes to think of the solution individually. And the other one is a peer instruction group. It's one of the experimental group, can be called experimental group 1. And every time we post the question, and so we ask the students to use this gadget to vote for the answers. In comparison with control group, students can discuss with their neighbors and try to convince their neighbors with their own answers, and then they vote for that. And then we also have experimental group 2. For this class, we provide them some hints. So tell them that in order to solve this question, well, this is your hint. Follow this hint to instruct your neighbors. The reason is, according to our research, in the previous research, we only can demonstrate peer instruction works, but we cannot demonstrate, we don't have evidence whether peer instruction works for everyone, even for weak students. Because if I ask a weak student to be paired with a strong student, with excellent students, and we find the weak students have a little bit coward to argue with their partner, the excellent students, because they don't have sufficient knowledge to support their arguments. In this case, we provide the hints for them, yeah, and ask them after that, use your ClickPad gadget to vote for the answers. According to our findings, later, for all these 3 groups, only this group has a significant difference. They are significantly better than group 1 and group 2. Well, these 2 groups, in the exams, the grades are the same. So only this group, we find this. In the exams, students perform significantly better. So we use this quasi-experimental design to show that if we wanted to use peer instruction, we'd better provide some guides or hands-on hints for the students instead of let them have a free talk. This is quasi-experimental design because we cannot assign the students, change the students from class A to class B. We don't have these rights. So we can only randomly say, okay, class A to class E, you are all go to this class, and class F, for example, GH, go to this group, and the rest go to this group. Yeah, and then before the experiment starts, we give them a pretest, try to measure whether their level, their understanding of statistics are all the same from scratch. Later, we find in the pretest, there is no significant difference. That shows they are equally assigned. Yeah, so using quasi-experimental design can help us to avoid some bureaucratic things in practice. Yeah, so it's very frequently used. And my current research, I'm working on this research application nowadays, busy with it, is in the statistics, we use 2 groups. This is the research I've done during the lockdown last year. We have 10 classes and 5 classes in the control group, 5 classes in the experimental group. And all the students follow 60 minutes mass lecture every Monday. And then they have 30 minutes to work on the self-test. And for the experimental group, students first use the 30 minutes to watch short videos to instruct them. And these short videos are the TikTok format, because our young people they find 60 minutes mass lectures is difficult for them to concentrate. So we chop all the statistic technique into 1 minute, 2 minutes, the TikTok format, yeah? And then ask the students to work on the test. And the difference is that for this control group, the teachers will demonstrate the solutions to each question 1 by 1. While for the experimental group, students watch it individually, and then the teacher just briefly demonstrates the solution. Then they have 10 minutes question and answer, while this group has 30-minute question and answer. And later, week 8, they all join the same exam. And we do find that there is a significant difference. Students watch the TikTok format videos, outperform those in the control group. So even they have real-time communication with teachers, but not as effective as they watch the short videos. So we use this experimental research, the hard evidence, to show that for statistic teaching, that the short videos may be more effective than the teachers. So this is for our research. It's a quasi-experimental design. Okay. So then after present you two examples, you may get a picture how it works. So it has a start, intervention, and end. The starting part, you go to the literature, to reviewing the theories, and to construct your assessment, conduct a pilot test. Then you assign the people into different groups using certain criterion, and you develop the measurements. And then later, you look after the research period, you look into the assessment. You can assess their cognitive development. You can also assess their change of behaviors. Yeah, you can also assess their emotional development, the different feelings, perceptions towards the things. Okay? So, and then you try to develop for the next research period. Okay, so this is a rough line how this hard evidence research comes from. Okay, now last research is the example success for all is again using the hard evidence, yeah, the experimental research. Have you ever heard of this project, Success for All? Success for All. Have you ever heard of it? No. Okay, thanks, Agnes. Well, Chandler, you have heard of it. Great. Yes. Marguerite, no. Okay. No. Okay. Yes. Now I understand. Not every student have heard of it, so I will briefly introduce it. Success for All was developed by Robert Slavin. Yeah, I think in 1990s, as I remember. They published several articles and also book. It's about research and reform in elementary education. Okay, the Success for All here, all means all the schools and all the children. Yeah, so every child, if they are not, if they are just a normal child, they can succeed in elementary education. This is their starting point. Okay, what kind of research they have done? For example, it says there are two gifts we should give our children. One is roots, the other one is wings. So this is their idea. We give two gifts, twee cadeautjes, to our children. One is the roots, so this is the roots, and the other is the wings. It's the wings, like the bird's wings. Okay, and because according to the previous research, we know that the children in education in elementary school, basisschool, if they want to succeed, the reading is very essential. Yeah, same as the CITO test. I think you may have some experience about the CITO test. If the reading capability is good, the children usually have a better chance to succeed in the CITO test, to understand even mathematical questions much better. Okay? However, some children need more help than others. So we cannot use one approach to everyone. So we need to explore the different didactic methods for children in order to make them all as successful readers. Yeah. Okay. And then they provide, because of this, they provide excellent preschool and kindergarten programs in order to improve the curriculum, classroom management, and from kindergarten to the end of basisschool. And assess students also frequently to try to track their learning progress. They also contact the parents frequently to know how the kids learn at home. And here I will take one example of that. It's about teach reading skills in Slavin's successful all programs, how it works. Okay, see here. They have an 8-week assessment. And for each group, they have a reading tutor. And they also have a family support team to teach the parents how they can teach their kids to read at home. And besides that, they also have an advisory committee, and they also provide a teacher training program and relentlessness. So it's continuous, it's non-stop. Yeah, you can see all these elements they design is based on their review of the previous research, which has already been shown effective. That is why they put all these elements, this kind of support in their program. And the steps of teaching reading skills, like first, let the teachers read, ask the teachers to read the stories. After the teacher read the stories, they ask the children to share the feelings, how they feel about the story, what they have heard of it. And later, gradually, the teacher's role will diminish. The Verbena will gradually disappear, and until the children are able to read the whole book, to let the children take the authority to read the stories. Okay, and afterwards, they have the reading wings. They ask a partner read it, the team structure discussion, group the kids, and then they ask kids to have a deep discussion on the topics they have read. Yeah, try to go to a higher level cognitive development of the readings. So these are the roots, these are the wings. So this is how they use in the successful all program. Then they also find how it intervenes, yeah, how this intervention works. Yeah, it's that by third grade, so that is group 5 actually, they can predict the remarkable accuracy which students will drop out. Yeah, the key predictors include poor reading performance and retention in grades. So they also noticed the most crucial years of education is group, actually this is group 3, 4, and 5. So these are the 3 crucial times for the teachers to improve the kids' reading capabilities. And they also design a lot of different assessments for that. Yeah, and you see this starts in the middle of 1980s, but later go on developed by Slavin. Okay, and it's very challenging. It's a challenging language and reading program. It has this program content, and they also have different roles, different coordinators to guide this program. So this program is not simple; it's very comprehensive. Okay, and later they also have kind of tests, like they designed the word attack test. All these words are meaningless. It's to test whether the kids can independently read out all these words. And these are their effect size. Same as John Hattie, they use a lot of pairs and a lot of studies. And then they compare the effect size. You see that here, P smaller than 0.05 means these are significant difference. And here, pairs means randomly pair kids in the reading programs and kids can follow the reading program to see whether this reading program, this Root and Wings program, significantly help the kids. Okay. Unfortunately, it's the time now. I still have a little bit more slides to go, but I can put it into the next week. Is it okay? So we have to stop this moment. Yeah. So let's continue next week to talk about this Successful All program. It's okay? Shall we stop at this moment? Yeah? Okay, great. Wish you enjoy this course, and I will upload the materials on below and send you an email. Okay, thank you. I wish you have a nice night, nice evening, and see you next week. Bye-bye. Bye.